Today's lesson is quantum computers, the next step in technological evolution. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to continue talking about quantum computers. And again, we're asking the question, is this the next step in technological evolution? A long period of change over a long period of time. That's what evolution is. And of course, computers have evolved over the years. They've gotten more and more advanced. And the next step is, I guess, quantum computers. Is that the next step in this evolution?
Very, very interesting. We learned a little bit about old computers, supercomputers, or even quantum computers would be able to do processing much faster. If you think of a quantum computer as a Lamborghini or an F1 race car, it would make even the most powerful computer today look like an old Model T Ford from the 1910s or 1920s. It would leave these modern computers in the dust. But still, a lot of this is theoretical. They've only built a few quantum computers, basic ones for research purposes. Think about all the different things we could do in many different areas of life if we had these. So let's check out the first part of our article and find out more about what quantum computers could help us with and how we're going to reach that goal.
Quantum physics has been a topic of discussion for years, and physicist Richard Feynman first proposed the idea of a quantum computer in 1981. Despite having a wide range of possible applications, quantum computers are not yet widely used due largely to the instability of qubits. For instance, qubits are highly sensitive to factors such as temperature and sound. Therefore, the environment in which a quantum computer operates must be carefully controlled to enable qubits to function effectively. However, achieving the necessary stability remains challenging, resulting in frequent computer glitches or errors.
大家好，第一部分介绍名词 physics， 它的意思是物理学。例如 Rupert has been a high school physics teacher for 15 years. Rupert 已经当了15年的高中物理老师。或者 George studied for 3 hours for his physics test. George 为物理学考试念了3个小时的书。接着看到名词 application， 表示应用或是应用程式，也可以是申请的意思。例如Detecting illnesses is only one application of this technology. 侦测疾病只是这项科技的其中一个应用。或是 This editing software has a number of practical applications. 这个编辑软体具有许多实际应用。再来看到 stability 这个名词，它的意思是稳定性或是稳固。例如 The stability of the bridge depends on its flexibility in high wind. 桥梁的稳定度取决于其面临强风时的弹性。
Okay, so again, we're talking about quantum computers, and that's related to quantum physics. That has been a topic of discussion for years. And physicist Richard Feynman first proposed the idea of a quantum computer in 1981. I think this guy's long gone, but he proposed this idea way back in 1981. We're talking about quantum physics, and physics is just the study of things and how they relate to each other and different kinds of subjects and different kinds of matter in the universe. Physics, of course, is often used when we talk about astronomy, trying to figure out the mass of objects and the movement and stuff like that. All those things have to do with physics.
Absolutely. Science of the physical world, the world that we can touch and see. It's different, of course, from biology, the science of the living world, and chemistry, the science of all of the different things that the world is made up of. Physics is important in engineering, as Roger explained, in space, rockets, cars, all of this stuff. If you remember weighing things and balancing things in science class, that was probably a physics experiment of some kind. So way back in 1981, when computers were still pretty basic, Richard Feynman, this brilliant scientist, if you don't know about him, you should look him up, just as important in many ways as maybe Tesla or Einstein. He had this idea of quantum computers, but of course back then it was just an idea. It said despite having a wide range of possible applications, quantum computers are not yet widely used due largely to the instability of qubits. Qubits qubits are the basic sort of memory blocks or working the brain, the basic brain, I guess you could say, of quantum computers. And they're still pretty difficult to work with. They're unstable, I should say. They have a lot of instability. They're basically hard to make. They're probably very expensive. And linking them together into a working computer is still very much a science experiment. It's not something that you can go out and buy from IBM or Apple or AMD or anything like that. So it's still very, very much on the theoretical or experimental science side of things. But there is possibly a wide range of applications. Applications here, well, it's kind of like an app, like a software, a piece of software you have for your computer, your phone. But here we're talking about possible uses, ways that we can use quantum computers practically in the real world, right? It's great to talk about what we could possibly do with them, but how can we actually use them? Well, we can't really use them in many ways now because this is still very much experimental science. What are some of the problems with qubits?
Well, let's see. What some of those problems are is that they could be very unstable or unstable. You could also say that. So they're not yet widely used because of that instability of those qubits. Okay, they've only come out recently and maybe they're just theoretical. So they're very unstable. They have this instability. We just can't rely on them just yet. So, of course, we can't really depend on them for quantum computers. They're not yet widely available. So, of course, we need to depend on more scientific research and advancements in this field in order to see quantum computers become a reality. But again, some of the problems with qubits, for instance, or for example, qubits are highly sensitive to factors such as temperature and sound.
So they're very sensitive quiet to those around things. The qubits.
They can't certainly be around us right now because we're making too much noise. And of course, they're sensitive to temperature as well. If it's too hot or too cold, they just won't work. They're sensitive to temperature. And again, if things are too loud or if they're too soft, then they're sensitive to those things and they just won't work properly.
So you can see why this is not something that we can just sell and people can have in their homes. If your kid runs by or your dog barks or the temperature goes down in the winter, there go your qubits, there goes your new supercomputer. Not very useful or practical yet. Therefore, the environment in which a quantum computer operates must be carefully controlled to enable qubits to function effectively. We would probably actually call this in a very general way lab-like conditions, right? We would have to have perfect temperature, perfect humidity. We'd have to really keep the environment very, very, very stable. And, no groups of school kids being brought into the lab to shout and scream around the quantum computer. So yeah, it's not really something that would work in the real world these days. However, achieving the necessary stability remains challenging, resulting in frequent computer glitches or errors. So even then, these are very delicate, very sensitive machines. Maintaining stability, maintaining a stable environment with stable volumes of noise, giving it this sort of perfect environment and not having that environment change, giving that stability that nothing can change. Everything in the environment needs to be very, very, very healthy for these computers. That remains challenging, resulting in frequent computer glitches or errors. A glitch is a little mistake, a problem when your computer slows down, when that app you're using on your phone suddenly freezes and you have to shut it off or reboot the phone or whatever. This is the kind of thing we're talking about. So clearly, you can have it in a lab. Having it in a home, very difficult. Putting it in a vehicle or a rocket ship or a satellite, impossible. It would never survive those types of environmental conditions. So they got to make them tougher, in other words.
They're going to have to work on these things for a little while before they become a reality. Hopefully, they will become a reality in our lifetime, and they may solve some problems that we have in the world right now. Okay, let's move on now to the second part and talk some more about quantum physics and quantum computers. Let's listen.
So, why are scientists and corporations so interested in this new technology? It's because quantum computing holds immense potential. For example, Google recently utilized a quantum computer to surpass a supercomputer in a number generation task. With such processing power, it is believed that quantum computers could someday lead to breakthroughs in fields ranging from drug discovery and molecular modeling to cryptography and artificial intelligence.
第二部分介绍名词 corporation 表示大型企业或是大公司。我们可以说 Sabrina works for a large multinational corporation. Sabrina 在一家大型跨国公司工作。又或者说 Several small companies joined together to form one large corporation. 这几家小公司联合起来，将组成一个大型企业。继续看到动词 surpass， 它的意思是超越、胜过或是优于。例如 Ben has surpassed the average grade score of his brother. Ben 超越了他哥哥的平均成绩。又或者说 The sequel to the movie surpassed the original in terms of box office takings. 这部电影的续集在票房收入方面超越了原作。再来我们看到名词 breakthrough， 指的是突破或是重大进展。举例来说 The discovery of electricity was one of humanity's greatest scientific breakthroughs. 电的发现是人类最伟大的科学进展之一。又或者说 These results represent a major breakthrough in cancer treatment. 这些结果代表了癌症治疗的重大突破。
Okay, so here we're beginning with a question. So why are scientists and corporations so interested in this new technology? Yeah, it sounds cool, it sounds interesting, but aren't our current computers enough? Aren't we satisfied with that? So yeah, why are these scientists so obsessed with this new technology? And why are corporations so interested in this new technology? To me, a corporation is just a really, really big company.
A really big company, probably multinational. It probably, does business in different parts of the world, in different countries, in different regions and territories, and it will have many different departments, many different levels. It might actually own different companies under one umbrella company, but that big company at the top would be the corporation. Of course, we can think of Meta being the big corporation that owns Facebook, and it owns Instagram, and it owns a whole bunch of other stuff. But the main big super company is the corporation known as Meta. So yeah, why are scientists, corporations, and I would also throw in governments interested in this new technology? Well, I think the basic answer is because improving computing power has been the story of the human race and business and science for the last 50, 60, 70 years. So that's the basic answer. But it's also because it says quantum computing holds immense potential. Imagine if you could do what's bigger than a billion, trillion. What's bigger than a trillion? If you could do a quadrillion or even more types of calculations per second, imagine how much computers could do for you. Here's an example. For example, Google recently utilized a quantum computer to surpass a supercomputer in a number generation task. This sounds like a pure scientific experiment, computer science experiment. We're going to use this quantum computer and we're going to put it up against the best supercomputer using the old style of computing with bits and bytes and stuff like that. And we're going to give them a task to perform, in this case, a number generation task. One of the things they might do is just sort of tell the computer to find the value of pi, 3.141419527.
I've got it memorized to just 3.14159, and then after that, I don't know.
Exactly. But you can go on until the end of time with that, right? Because there is never a final answer with pi. So they can basically ask it to go to 10,000 points or 100,000 or 1,000,000 points, and it will just create or generate numbers, all right? So when you're generating something, you're creating or making something. So a number generation task is basically just asking two computers to come up with the biggest number they possibly can and to do it as fast as they can. In other words, it's a mathematical race between these two computers to see how big numbers they can make and how fast they can make those numbers. And this quantum computer, even though it's quite experimental, it still beat or surpassed a supercomputer in doing this task in this little race. To surpass someone is to go past them, to beat them, to triumph over them, have a victory. But certainly you did better than they did. The quantum computer did better than the supercomputer did.
Yep, it surpassed it. It did better than that supercomputer. And again, that was a number generation task to produce a very large number. And with such processing power as that, it is believed that quantum computers could someday lead to breakthroughs in fields ranging from drug discovery and molecular modeling to cryptography and artificial intelligence. So we're looking for breakthroughs here, which means something new and exciting, and it represents a big change. And again, it's a very important discovery, a very important development. We're always looking for breakthroughs in cancer research, for example, or breakthroughs in science so that our lives can be easier in the future. And hopefully these kinds of computers could lead to those breakthroughs in various fields. And we've got a range of different fields here. Drug discovery, looking for kinds of drugs to indeed treat cancer and heart disease and diabetes and stuff like that. And also we might find some breakthroughs in molecular modeling. Molecular has to do with molecules, which is when you combine atoms together, like H2O is the water molecule. So molecular is the adjective form of that. And we've also got cryptography, which is all about codes.
Absolutely. And molecular modeling could be used for drug design, biomaterials, emerging materials. So if we're doing a lot of chemistry, that would really be more in the world of chemistry. Of course, quantum computers can do all that math very quickly. Cryptography, basically code breaking, making codes and breaking codes. If you saw that movie with Benedict Cumberbatch about the first computer that was built by the British during the World War II, that was breaking the German Enigma code. So that's the kind of thing that they could do. But of course, the codes that are generated by computers these days are much more powerful, much harder to crack or break or read. So they could do that. Artificial intelligence, of course, having a computer think and process information more like a human. And of course, there's probably about 10,000 other things that quantum computers could help us with. Everything from space research to drug making. Scientists are wanting to study the stars or things like that. Quantum computers would be hugely, hugely useful as long as they can be a little bit more reliable. Let's find out about more things that we can get from quantum computer, and we'll wrap up our article in the third part coming up right now.
While the possibilities of quantum computing are tantalizing, they remain out of reach for now. Nonetheless, with governments, corporations, and universities investing billions in quantum computing research, it may be only a matter of time before quantum computers begin to have major impacts on our lives.
第三部分看到动词 invest， 它表示投资或是投入。我们可以说 James invests his money in stocks. James 用他的钱投资股票。最后一个例子 Will has invested much time and money into building this house. 在建造这栋房子上 Will 投入了许多时间和金钱。
Okay, so let's talk about the third part here. It says, while the possibilities of quantum computing are tantalizing, they remain out of reach for now. So yes, it is true that they are tantalizing. They're tempting. That's what tantalizing means. It means you have something in front of you, but you can't get it. So it's tempting. It can be a little frustrating if you can't get that thing. But yes, indeed, it is tempting or tantalizing, but still, they're out of reach for now. Again, the research is just in its infancy. It's just beginning, and it's going to take some time until these computers are a reality. So yeah, they're out of reach for most people, but it's fun to imagine what they could do.
That's right. And if time passes, of course, and more research is done, they will be within our reach, or they will be possible probably sooner than we might expect. Nonetheless, with governments, corporations, and universities investing billions, that's dollars, in quantum computing research, it may be only a matter of time before quantum computers begin to have major impacts on our lives. So a lot of people with a lot of money and a lot of smart employees, governments, NASA, the U.S. government, the U.S. military, the CIA, just to name a few different government departments in America that would be very interested in this. Corporations, big companies, and many universities, right? Some of the smartest people in the world do all their research at universities and work with corporations and governments. They are investing, or they're putting all of their money in quantum computing research. Well, maybe not all all, but billions of dollars. To invest in something is basically to make a financial stake in something, to kind of use your money to say, I believe in this, I'm going to put some money in. My money, hopefully combined with others, will make it bigger and better and improve it. And of course, this will hopefully pay off either with money or with new research or new knowledge in the future. So a lot of big people with big money and big ideas and big brains are really putting a lot of stake into this. They really believe in it. So it may be only a matter of time. I would just say it will only be a matter of time before quantum computers begin to have major impacts on our lives. I can't really see us not reaching this goal sooner or later.
Hopefully it will be for the good and not
Yes.
for bad, but of course some people are going to use it for bad, to develop super weapons and things like that. But again, as I said, hopefully it will benefit humankind rather than cause harm to it. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Here comes Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第二部分提到 Google 最近利用量子电脑在数字生成任务中超越了超级电脑。那么文中是用到 surpass 这个动词来表达超越。我们来学它的字首字根。先看到字根 pass， 它有通过、传递、流逝或通道等等的意思。像 passage 就是表达通道、通路，还有其他一些道路设施，像overpass 天桥、高架道路，或者是 underpass 地下道等等，也都跟通道有关，所以可以看出这个字根的意思。好，那么在 surpass 这个字当中，字首 sur 它是由 super 变形而来，表示超过，在点点点上方。那字根 pass 表示通过、经过，合在一起 surpass 就可以表达超越、胜过或是优于。我们顺便补充几个有相同字根的单字。第一个是 passport， 它的字根 pass 表示通过，字尾 port 表示港口。那同学们可以试着把 port 想成 airport 机场，毕竟这个机场又叫做空港嘛，那这就像是飞机的港口。我们要出入机场、通过机场就要有身份证明，所以 passport 就是指护照。第二个补充的是 password， 它的字根 pass 表示通过， word 是文字，那能让你通行的文字也就是密码咯。第三个补充的是 trespass， T-R-E-S 这部分是源自于拉丁文字首 T-R-A-N-S， 表示跨越、超出。那么字根 pass 表示通道，当你跨越超出可以走的范围，跨越到禁止通行的地方，那就表示擅自侵入咯。那么 trespass 这个动词就是指擅自进入、侵入，尤其是侵入他人的土地或建筑物等等。我们接着读到课文下一句，他提到说，凭借如此强大的处理能力，人们相信量子电脑有朝一日可能会在药物发现、分子模型、密码学和人工智慧等等的领域带来突破。文中用到 molecular 来形容分子的，由分子组成的，那它的名词是 molecule， 表示分子。我们来拆解一下它的字根。 mole 这个单字呢，可以用来表示痣，长在脸上或身上的黑痣，那它也可以指内奸长期潜伏的间谍。可是在 molecule 这个字当中，字根 mole 它表示质量，那么字尾 cule 表示小，合在一起 molecule 就表示分子。我们也补充一下 cule 这个字尾呢，其实是 cle 的变形，那它们都是用来描述小的名词字尾。像在 particle 这个字当中， part 表示部分、一点，那么字尾 cle 表示小，合在一起 particle 就可以指颗粒、粒子的意思。好，那么以上今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天单字吧。
Physics is the branch of science that deals with the study of matter, energy, and the fundamental forces of nature. Application. Electricity has a variety of practical applications, from lighting and heating to powering vehicles. Stability. A lack of political stability can make it difficult for a country to attract foreign investment. Corporation. With its considerable resources and global reach, the corporation influences markets around the world. Surpass. Thanks to strong reviews, the new film is expected to surpass all previous ticket sales records. Generation. The generation of new theories is key to scientific progress. breakthrough. It is hoped that the new discovery will lead to breakthroughs in cancer treatment. Invest. Yvette chose to invest in her education by pursuing a master's degree.
Discussion Starter starts now!
It's time for our discussion starter for today. The question is, do you think that quantum computers will someday be widely used? Why or why not?
I believe they will be widely used in the future since computers basically run the whole modern world as we know it, and more powerful computers have always come along, and we've been sort of improving our rate of computing power, doubling it every couple of years for, as I said, the past few generations. So yeah, definitely they will be widely used once they become more practical.
Well, I'm more pessimistic, Mike.
Oh, really?
I don't think quantum computers will ever be widely used, considering that there are companies and rich people who are investing in this technology, and I'm sure they will not want to share it with everybody else. They'll just keep it for themselves and use it for their own benefit.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Roger. See you next time.